And now, Daniel Gribbin from Emex company, where he is the sales director and ESG specialist. Daniel and his company are introducing software solutions used for monitoring of environmental impact, social impact, and corporate governance impact. And these tools can be used for measurement purposes, and then reports can be produced based on these tools. Soon all entrepreneurs in the EU will have to report on their impacts.
Please join me at this stage. Daniel opowie nam o tym, jakie są główne problemy, jeżeli chodzi o raportowanie.
Daniel will be speaking about the key challenges of reporting emissions.
Good afternoon, and appreciate I am the last one on the stage today, I think. So thank you all very much for sticking around to the conclusion here. It's been a wonderful event, and it's great to be talking so technically about some of the remediation and sustainability solutions that are out there. I'm going to talk about Emex as a solution, just to give you an idea about us, but also about some of the challenges I've seen over my 14, 15 years working in the ESG sustainability space. For a long time with KPMG in Australia, who was one of the early adopters of carbon legislation back in 2012, which required a lot of audit and assurance from the likes of myself and my colleagues back at the time to understand the challenges and the issues that you may face when you're starting to measure your carbon footprint. Just to let you know a little bit about Emex, we are an ESG and health and safety platform, a digital solution that we're trying to bridge the gap between our clients' sustainability ambitions and actually giving them effective actions and outcomes. We have a multifaceted platform that operates across the whole spectrum of sustainability and ESG. We have environmental and climate change solutions. We have health and safety solutions. We have social capital solutions, which are becoming much more popular now, as we have seen with the rise, particularly in the US, of the likes of Black Lives Matter, equal employment opportunities through much of Africa, and some of the pay and gender wage issues that we've seen globally as well. Our solution helps streamline data. We want to provide quality data to you. We want to allow you to engage your stakeholders in your businesses and actually make informed decisions. We want to give you the actionable insight so you can see what the outcome of the solution is and what the outcome of projects or initiatives that you might run are, and to help you report to various standards that we've talked about earlier. We have, and I'll touch on those in a second, but there is a raft of standards that are out there that we all need to comply with very soon. The platform is built on a single code base. It helps you integrate, process and utilize various data streams. So there are tools that we use to collect data. We have various tools like IoT devices and online monitoring, which I'll touch on in a second as well. We can batch upload data and connect into various systems, and we can ERP integrate to the likes of a SAP or an Oracle system to extract data on whichever frequency is required. It then goes into our proprietary Emex engine and is then used to put out potentially management reporting, reporting to external standards, and giving stakeholders and shareholders the information that they're looking for. But why are we talking about ESG and net zero so much? And it's been covered a little bit in the previous presentations, but I just want to recap. We have currently got the perfect storm of everything. We have the science. We've seen many of you probably have read the IPCC 6 assessment that came out last year. We have made irreversible change. The last decade was the hottest decade in 125,000 years. We have made irreversible changes to temperature that won't see, regardless of whichever carbon abatement techniques we use, we won't see a surface reduction until at least the mid-century. So the science is out there, it's being adopted by leaders, it's being adopted by the globe, it's driving governments and regulators, and those regulators are putting out mandatory requirements. We touched on the CSRD and the EU taxonomy. The big change there, and probably relevant for everyone in this room, is that companies who have 500 employees or more will need to report publicly on sustainability and ESG issues as of next year. The US in California has brought in mandatory carbon disclosures for all companies as of 1 January 2024. The SEC is proposing listed companies to report their Scope 1, 2, 3 emissions, and that will have a flow-on effect. Even though there is only around 5,000 listed SEC clients, you all form part of the supply chain for those companies. So you will be needing to report your data to them so that they can then report it on as well. We've seen the likes of New Zealand and Canada, for example, and the UK mandate TCFD, Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. We have seen the recovery payments connected to COVID be linked to this. So this is all coming together in a perfect storm here. And then we've seen the market leaders are really starting to drive it. The likes of Amazon, Microsoft, BMW are demanding their suppliers be more sustainable, be more accountable, and report their data up to them. I know recently Unilever came out and noted to their clients, to their suppliers, if they're not able to meet their ESG scores by next year, they will be moving on from them. And that is a massive supply chain that Unilever has there. But then what do we need to report? And this is where I want to touch on, and I'm not going to go through all of this because I know it was previously talked about, but we have our Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And the main point here is that Scope 1 and 2 emissions are your direct emissions, and we all form part of a supply chain that goes into Scope 3, as Andre touched on in the previous presentation. The reason we're reporting on Scope 3 at the moment is to get groundswell. Scope 3, in my opinion, will go away eventually. We will have a groundswell of people who are managing Scope 1 and 2 emissions, which are your own emissions. You know, we don't report profit twice. We don't report revenue twice from a financial reporting perspective. It will go away in time, but we need to get the groundswell up. We need to get the number of people reporting data there. So Scope 3 will be there for another decade plus until we get an appropriate amount of people standardising this information, reporting on these emissions in a consistent manner. What are the challenges? And this is the main point, of course, that I've seen over the years. So when you're starting to measure your footprint, do you know the boundary of your operations? Do you know, for example, what contractors are included or excluded into your direct control? Do you have the ability to change a light bulb in a building so that you own that building, or you're able to make decisions around the footprint associated with it? Do you form part of a supply chain, up or down? From a remediation perspective, are you a contractor of someone else? Do you need to report to their data and to their standards and their requirements? So understanding your boundary is always the first step that I recommend clients go through when they actually start to go down their emissions reporting process. What are you including, excluding? Do you have operations in developing countries that perhaps don't have availability of data and are going to have an issue with you? Then we go into what are your material sources. And one of the big things I think a lot of people get hung up when they're doing their first footprint is they try to get everything the first time. This is an evolving science. It's an evolving process. Whilst we have got factors and we can do conversions for almost every type of emission at the moment, when you're first starting this process, I strongly recommend focus on what is material. What is 90+% of your footprint, which is generally going to be electricity, perhaps some fuel use from a Scope 1 perspective. Air travel is often a big one, and waste, depending on your operations, particularly, I suppose, for the remediation world where you're using a lot of waste and it's either going to landfill or to various other projects. And then where does your data come from? So there are data sources that can be very reliable. There are data sources that are not so reliable. We need to find out where our activity data is coming from. We can integrate with a lot of systems. We can find out where data is coming from as a software provider, but you need to have confidence in that data if you're reporting to your shareholders, if you're reporting to your board. Do you have a reliable electricity provider? It is regulated in most of the world, but in some areas, particularly in Africa and Southeast Asia, your invoices are not reliable. They're on a sub-meter who is estimated, etc. So where does your activity data come from? And that is a big challenge because, for example, the CSRD requirements will require an external audit. And those auditors are going to look at that source evidence and that source data. So do you have the right activity data? And finally, do you have the right culture? And this can apply not just to carbon, but to any ESG issue. We really need to drive the right culture, and that comes from leadership and it comes from the top. So do our CEO and board support these initiatives? Do they want to actually make a meaningful change? It is very hard to make change in a company from that mid-level position, and you're trying to persuade a board, you are trying to get budget, you are trying to do things. You're a small cog in a big machine. But if you can get that buy-in from a senior level, from board members, from CEOs, from CFOs who will eventually be driving this from a financial risk perspective, then you are going to go a long way to being able to run this properly and to be able to actually make a change within your organisation. And then how do you do it? These are the other things. So one thing I strongly recommend is work with your integration partners, whether that's Emex, whether it's the likes of Lion, whether it's the big four consultancies. There is a lot of people who are out there who are willing to help, not even for money. They're willing to help for free because it's a good thing to do at the moment. We all need to get up the education curve. Rely on them, ask for help, ask for support, get your scopes right early, and so that you can then build that education awareness within your business. Look at automating any data. So API connections, being able to plug into any existing systems so that you are taking away the manual time, the manual entry that you might have, that you can then actually make decisions rather than be running around chasing an invoice or plugging data into a spreadsheet. Look at things like IoT, SCADA systems, various other automation processes that you can do, and also at things like batch data uploads, so that you can get all your data there and you can make informed decisions, you can set the right KPIs, and you can actually make that meaningful change that we all want to make. Just to take you through very quickly about our IoT solution as well, we have a small meter that is able to be moved and plugged around on various meters within a site. In this example, it can be plugged into a warehouse and can give you real-time emissions data, carbon emissions data, can give you VOCs and other regulatory systems as well. That is quite an inexpensive one and allows you to get real-time monitoring. We're seeing this quite popular at the moment, particularly where you have large transportation facilities, or you have a lot of tenants in a building perhaps who need to, or would like to, from a stakeholder perspective, understand their footprint and understand what's happening and how the building is reacting and living and breathing with them. And then just finally to take you through a bit of a worked example of where we've done this in the past, and this was with Kuehne+Nagel, a large transportation company. I think they have about 70,000 employees operating in about 60 different countries. They were previously running an emission footprint system, and it was done manually. It was done every quarter. It was done via spreadsheets across 55 different stakeholders. So you can imagine the time it was taking as we sort of work up that stream for them to prepare all this information, to audit it, to get it correct, to change emission factors, to change coefficients. It was extremely time consuming. They had extreme data integrity issues because all it takes is one person to hit an extra zero and it can throw out our whole manual spreadsheet. They had very high administration costs and running of the process. They had high consultant costs because they needed consultants to get in at every different region and help them. And then they lacked the ability to actually make change and decisions because they were still worried about data collection. The final bit was they had no audit trails. So when they went to get audited, you had to go back through emails and find where someone had sent it to you. Maybe they sent it to you through a Microsoft Teams chat, and you weren't able to actually verify the information. So we've worked with them over the past 4 or 5 years to create a centralized web-based solution for their sites. It has an integrated validation and workflow process. It has an emission factor library that is updated frequently when the new emission factors are coming out so that they know that they have the right back-end data and the right calculations happening. It has a business intelligence tool sets and AI built into it to let you know about upcoming issues or potential variations in your data, and supports things like the CDP and GSG protocol. And it really gave them back a lot of time in their day, and they were really thankful for the process. What they've then done is expanded the solution, and this is the benefit of the Emex platform, is because we are built it on single code base, we're able to expand beyond carbon to some various other impacts. So we were able to help them with their social responsibility and diversity KPIs. We extended the Scope 3 reporting that they put into their place. They've started a science-based targeting process, so being able to integrate the science-based target into the system and track that. And their ISO 14001 accreditation as well was used as part of this process. But just a small example of how the system was built, it extended, and it is able to grow with people as your company changes and as you as an entity mould, and we also see the regulations mould. And that's really all I wanted to touch on. I think I've given us back a couple of minutes, which is very useful.
Thank you very much. Stay here. Please don't go away yet, because, well, we have a small surprise for our audience. Basically, today is a big day for Emex because they decided to launch their new product actually now, as we speak. So the next presentation will be about that product. Let's have a round of applause for well, the success of that product, which
Thank you.
it's a well, Daniel will tell you all the details about this, but well, all the best.
Thank you. Thank you. No, we are very excited and very proud and happy to be launching it at Remedy today. It's our Emex CarbonGo solution. So we have found, talking to clients, a lot of clients, as I've talked about, they don't understand the data, they don't understand how to set it up. And so what we've developed is a easy to start, quick to implement and ready to go solution that takes a very short period of time for you to get a carbon management system within your operations. It helps measure across all scopes, scope 1, 2 and 3. It gives you, you can see an example of the dashboard there, example of insights, hotspots, how things are working within your site. And it is in line with all the best practicing or the best practice frameworks out there. It covers scope 1, 2 and 3, as I said. Scope 3 in line with all DEFRA and GHG protocol emissions. We go through fleet, refrigerants, electricity. You are able as a user to customize the form, customize the emissions you would like to capture, so you don't need to see all this information in your software. It is tailored to you. You're able to upload your logos and your information so it looks like you have a proper data reporting system, and you will have a proper data reporting system. And it aligns with all the relevant frameworks. So it is compliant with GRI, CDP, SASB, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, etc., so that you get a data quality that is as good as anyone else out there for a fraction of the price. It's fast and easy to set up. So it's a 5 to 10 minute form that requires being filled out. It is affordable. So for as little as €1,000 a month, which is also a flexible based on site, you can report up to 5 to 10 sites in your CarbonGo operations. It gets you quality data that is auditable. So you're able to upload supporting information, you're able to have a track, you're able to have a workflow, you're able to review and provide analytics within the system. It gives you the standardized reporting and the insights that I showed on the first page, and it gives you our support team as well. So you're not just by yourself, we don't leave you there. You get access to our full support team who can take you through the journey if you have questions, you need problems that need to be solved. We're very proud of this, and we will be launching more of these easy to start, easy to set up CarbonGo solutions in other areas of the ESG world. But to take you through very quickly how you set it up, there is about 12 questions. We go through your organisational name, the facilities and the owner of the facilities who will be putting in data. We go into what sector you're in so we can provide you some benchmarking and analytics along the way. You could pick which scopes you would like to report on. We have our team available if you need advice around which ones you may or may not need to report on. If you need to work with someone like Lion, you're able to as well to work with our partners in order to get the information there and to help you set up this initially. We cover scope 1, scope 2, and of course scope 3. We have all the emission factors uploaded in there. We have the analytics available. And then you get, within a matter of days, our promise is within a matter of days to give you an actual software with logins, with appropriate workflows that is functional. You're able to enter source data and you can be up and running very quickly, which gets rid of a lot of the lengthy implementation times, a lot of the lengthy processes that go through when you're trying to implement a software. It gives you really actionable insights. So in this instance, we can see there's a very large scope 3 factor within one of the sites here for March. It gives you hotspots, it gives you analytics and AI and future trend analysis. And it will be customed. It doesn't show you in this one, but it's custom with your logos, so it looks like it's your operational and your company's data software from day one. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. If you would like to know more, I have my colleagues Mark and Will here who are happy to talk about it. You can also scan this QR code, which will take you to the website, which has been launched today, I believe about an hour or two ago. But we're really excited to launch this product and to be able to give access to those who usually maybe wouldn't be able to get a data reporting software out there or find spreadsheets and some of the other processes really cumbersome. So thank you all very much. It's a very quick presentation and a launch, but we're really excited about the product. Happy to take any feedback as well you might have from it. So thank you again, and thank you to Remedy for allowing us to launch the product today.
Thank you very much. Thank you again.